Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh. Thank you so much for joining us. We are live today with a wake up, and on today's show for you, we got the reaction to the possible peace deal in Afghanistan. U.S. has charged the Chinese company Huawei, a polar vortex on the way, and an embarrassing iPhone bug. That's all coming your way in this jam-packed, briefer edition of the Wake Up. Right now, there are some fears about what could follow right now an Afghanistan peace deal that is currently being negotiated, as current and former U.S. diplomats and military officials were cautiously optimistic on Monday about the framework for a deal to end the 17-year war against the Taliban in Afghanistan. But they questioned whether a power-sharing arrangement could be found and what the effects might be on U.S. counterterrorism priorities. An intelligence assessment from 2017 said a complete withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan will lead to attack on the U.S. within 2 years. Aides have used the report to try to convince President Trump that a residual American force must remain in the country. So, obviously, he wants to cut troops down in Afghanistan by half. But if we could get out of another country, it's really hard to understate how huge of a development that would be. And it's really only a president like Donald Trump that could actually get that done. So it'll be very interesting to see. Obviously, if we have legitimate security risks, then we shall see. It's going to be pretty important to see that everything, a possible residual American presence stays in there. Because if that's actually true, but the question is that actually true? We don't know. And that's going to be something that we need to evaluate here. So the possibility of an attack on America within 2 years is very scary, but it'd be so huge, obviously, to get troops home from another country, kind of take away our military presence abroad that just does way more harm than good, obviously. And that would be very, very encouraging, but it should never, ever come at the cost of American lives, obviously. But yeah, here's another angle, though. Afghanistan officials are worried that U.S. could try to reach a separate deal with the Taliban that would allow American troops to leave. So there were children, though, when the war started. Now, New York Times had a very interesting report from Afghanistan. As the children, when the war started 17 years ago now, reflect on the possibility of peace when they've known it pretty much all their entire lives. Hopefully they're probably pretty happy about that, but it's very important that it has to be done the right way, and I'm very, very glad that this is actually now being brought up as just a possibility. It is pretty incredible. So, the U.S. has accused Chinese tech giant Huawei. Yeah, I'm just gonna say Huawei. Huawei. The Justice Department unveiled charges against the telecommunications firm Huawei and its chief financial officer on Monday, outlining a decade-long attempt to steal trade secrets, obstruct a criminal investigation, and evade sanctions on Iran. American officials said they would request extradition from the executive, Meng Wanzhou, from Canada before a Wednesday deadline. Officials have long suspected Huawei of working to advance Beijing's global ambitions, a possibility. In a communist country, between the state's biggest cell phone manufacturer and tech giant and the state, it's all very possible. It's not out of the ordinary that something like that would happen. So, they've now begun taking steps. The U.S. have to curb the company's international presence, and that'll be very nice because they're curbing China's international presence, and help gets our kind of companies back on the board, like Apple and others. Apple now is 5th place and being beat out in China by Huawei and other companies on the path to more profits. So don't be mistaken. The possibility that this has something to do with it it's not too far off. What's next, though, is that top intelligence officials are to appear in Congress today to discuss the threats posed by Chinese cyber espionage and the role Huawei has played. The indictments on Monday could also complicate U.S.-China trade talks this week, so that's going to be something tough to work with. The 9 Democrats and 8 Republicans working to hash out a border security plan are all members right now of the House or Senate Appropriations Committee, which are known for their bipartisan work. The panel's first meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, so they're going to meet tomorrow to try to just hash things out here on the border security. We're going to keep you obviously abreast to all of that on the Wake Up throughout the day. The lawmakers have until, throughout the next couple of weeks, the lawmakers have until February 15th to reach a compromise over President Trump's call for $5.7 billion for a border wall. The president has said that without an agreement, he would use emergency powers to fund the wall. So it looks like he would do that to kind of keep us out of a government shutdown. But still, obviously, it would be awful because he would have no reign or control. There would be no reign to hold him accountable if he just decided to use emergency powers to just do whatever he wants there at the wall, hire anyone, skip all the background checks, skip all the environmental protection things that could actually slow this down to some degree and actually make it better. All that he could just pretty much easily throw out the window. All right, so that's an important thing to remember. The lawmakers have until February 15th again to reach a compromise. So yesterday, though, hundreds of thousands of federal employees returned to work after a 35-day government shutdown. The impasse cost the U.S. economy nearly $11 billion, nearly a quarter of which is permanently lost, according to the Congressional Budget Office. And Donald Trump's State of the Union now has been rescheduled for next Tuesday. So it's going to be next Tuesday that we'll have that. We're not going to be covering it live for you because it's just literally, it's kind of pointless and it's a lot of work. But we will have the full breakdown on it for you the next day. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, we're going to have the full breakdown on the Wednesday morning's Wake Up for you. So it's just about a week ago. So now over to Venezuela, where the Trump administration has imposed sanctions against the country's state-owned oil company on Monday, seeking to cripple the government of President Nicolas Maduro. And that could be a very big problem. That could be something very interesting to watch there, as sanctions like they have done to Iran have really kind of pushed them, and North Korea as well, which is, again, absolutely targeting sanctions. That would be very, very rough. Roger Stone, a longtime advisor to President Trump, is charged with obstruction of justice and other crimes. Is expected to plead not guilty. The acting attorney general unexpectedly announced on Monday that Robert Mueller's investigation was close to being completed. This is a very, very weird situation when the acting attorney general, Matt Whitaker, just came out and gave a status update on Robert Mueller's investigation, which personally I don't trust at all. He said very negative things about the Mueller probe in the past, and I have a very, very hard time believing that. I mean, I'm not such a hard time, but I do have a pretty hard time believing that these motives here are very pure in trying to determine when this Russian investigation is going to end. Why is he saying this? I just don't get it. Like, it's either a rookie move or a move with ulterior motives. Just come out and speak on the random status of an investigation. All right, so right now, British lawmakers over in the Brexit debate, as we head across the pond here, are expected today to vote on amendments to Prime Minister Theresa May's plan for leaving the European Union, which should be very interesting. Obviously, we have the over in Brexit, we have the kind of spate of options on the table, whether it be the no deal, whether it be a softer Brexit, whether it be a second referendum. There's all these possibilities that the people are going to have to vote for. Right now, though, Theresa May seems solely focused on keeping her plan, which is kind of a renegotiation, a kind of a softer Brexit that would kind of at least smooth things out a little bit. That would at least get people in the right frame of mind to leave the EU. But there still are some major problems that really, it was kind of a compromise where no one could fully be happy about, which is really why it failed so miserably. Now they're voting on right now amendments to possibly change that, even after Theresa May, when asked to come up with Plan B, pretty much like change a few words on her old plan and say, okay, here's Plan B, let's keep going. So that's kind of what is going on right now. We're going to head back across the pond right now to the El Chapo prosecution trial, where the prosecutors of the Mexican drug lord Joaquin Guzman Lorera ended their 10-week presentation on Monday. Mr. Guzman said he wouldn't take the stand in his defense. So, so the El Chapo prosecution has rested their case. So that's going to be a very interesting situation to watch. A lot of scandalous affairs have come out of that for a long time. So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We covered that even here on the show in the past few weeks. Over at FaceTime, a glitch in the Apple app allowed one iPhone user to call another and listen in on that person's phone conversation through the device's microphone, even if the recipient didn't even answer the call. So apparently, for example, say you have a FaceTime, I FaceTime you, and that person didn't, and you didn't answer, I could still listen to all the conversation you're having. So the company, which expected to report the disappointing financial results today, said it had disabled the feature behind the bug. So that's very, very good, but also very awkward that that's happening. So yeah, Apple, though, broadly facing more troubles than ever with slowing sales in China, and the possibility of being unseated there as one of the top, if not the top, tech retailer or tech manufacturer, or just tech company, whatever you want to call it. It would be a very interesting dynamic that still is, of course, continuing to play out. Also, though, we've talked about this before, but we're going to talk about it again right now. Bankruptcy filing for the California utility company Pacific Gas and Electric and sought bankruptcy protection today in anticipation of billions of dollars of liability claims for 2 years of just awful wildfires that they have been accused of having some role in starting. So that's going to be another interesting thing to watch for. Such a powerful utility company like that does not happen often. The new Congress, as I'm sure you've heard, is notably diverse, but a majority of members, even the new ones, got to Washington by way of institutions and professions out of reach for most of Americans. So that's going to be another problem. And you have the very few, far between people actually come in and run for Congress in a district to win their district, and they're just completely ordinary people the year before. So that's going to be very, very interesting to watch. And there's an opinion piece out in the New York Times about that. You got careers like lawyers, careers also, though, that are very kind of out of reach for the average Joe. And you're not just born into being a position like that. It comes where you're from really a wealthy status. It's kind of a head start, if you know what I'm trying to say here. Sorry. A polar vortex is expected to bring dangerously cold record-breaking temperatures to the Midwest this week. Forecasters expect a minus 14 degrees Fahrenheit temperatures in Chicago, Minneapolis, and Wednesday. That's the high, minus 14 in Chicago and Minneapolis over on Wednesday. All right. Let's see. Is there anything else that we have for you today? Finally, yeah. There, you know what? Actually, that seems to be just about it. Yeah, it seems to be just about it for our show today. Thank you so much for waking up with us. We will be back tomorrow with the next day's news, I guess.